My name is April Reeve. I have been a caregiver for 23 years. I am Métis. I am also a mother and grandmother to 3 beautiful adult children and 6 beautiful grandchildren. Well, several years ago, I had the opportunity with my partner Wayne to be a part of a youth safe house that the federal government was funding for Indigenous children in Nanaimo. And it was quite shocking to see the amount of Indigenous children that had fallen between the crack. We worked in that home for 3 years, and from that, it fed my desire to continue working with Indigenous youth. And that's who we have been caregiving for the majority of our time, is Indigenous youth. And it was just recently, within the last 3 years, that we decided to have a little bit of a change, and we were fostering younger children, younger Indigenous children. Some of the best things in fostering is making connection with children and youth, knowing that you're supporting them and helping them in their journey, watching a child be reunited with their family, returning to their community. Those are really highlights in my time as being a caregiver, is the idea of that I walk beside our Indigenous children and youth to help them facilitate going home, either for a visit or to live. Well, I think I have many rewards. Making a difference in a child's life, helping a family reunite. I think those are really important jobs. And kindness, patience, those are all things that I've learned from children. And I really have to say, these little ones just keep me young. They keep me on my toes, and they teach me things about life. Taking the time to look at a frog, taking the time to look at the leaves on the ground. And I think sometimes in our adult life, we get so busy, we don't take the time to look at those things, and I appreciate all that they've taught me. Well, we've become way more busier and more active. We're involved in community, involved in the school. There's many things that fill our day up, and a lot of times it's just making the time to be with the children, maybe read stories, sharing meals. So yes, our life has definitely gotten much busier. The impact that I would like to make is I want the children to know they're loved, they're supported, there's an understanding of maybe trauma that they've been through, and we do everything in our power to help them with that trauma. I also hope for lifelong relationships where they can count on my partner and I being there. And I think another big thing for us is being a part of reuniting families and having our Indigenous children go home, and that's special. I think that every day we talk about life lessons in our house, especially with little kids, and having the opportunity to teach them as they're going throughout the day and learning different things. So I think that it is something that we really would like to be able to do, is to help and support children to be able to grow up healthy, to make healthy choices, to learn about their culture, and to make contact with family or community so that they know who they are. Yes, foster parents should never foster in isolation. There is supports out there, just different local foster parent associations throughout BC, and then there's provincial supports for foster parents. It is really important for foster parents to be able to have someone that they can share things with, talk about. It's being with like-minded people. And I think that no one understands a foster parent. Fostering can be challenging, and when we have someone that we can count on for support, that makes all the difference. If someone was considering fostering, I would welcome them, because I think it's important that we be looking at bringing foster parents in that are young and vibrant and lots of energy. That's important to me. And what I would tell them is to have an open heart, and patience is a huge thing to have. If you're a patient person, then I think that's a really good fit for fostering. Also, that foster parents have to understand that fostering is only temporary, and that we have to expect that we're going to have our children return home, and to be able to walk with their foster children through that journey is a very important job that foster parents do. Foster parents wear many hats in their role as foster parents, and sometimes we have to be quick change artists. Sometimes we have to flip those hats off very quickly, and we also know when to step back and when to step in. Sometimes it's a juggling, and it's important that our foster children see us doing that too, with a good heart, and not being upset or maybe stressed, even though we do get stressed, of course, throughout our life, daily life. But I think that it's really important for foster kids to be able to watch foster parents go through this journey of having patience when foster parents are doing those quick change things, putting one hat on, taking it off, putting another hat on. It's a good life lesson for kids. They may not know it at the time, but having foster children come back to us who are now adults, that's one message that I have received from a lot of the kids that lived with us, was the idea that, number one, we were so patient, and number two is that they saw us take on many roles within a day, from being a housekeeper to a cook to the laundry to having accidents and being able to fix up those, scrapes. And then we get into the teen years and we have the teen angst, and just being a friendly ear. All of those things the kids talk about. Well, they're adults now, but when they come out, they talk about that, and that how it was done with, I want to say, grace. That may not be what the youth said to me, that he told me that I had no problems, which I guess is a good thing, but that quick changes were happening all the time. Bringing another youth into our home that maybe was not in a good spot at that time, bringing them into our home with respect, respecting their confidentiality, spending that time with them, making them feel comfortable and at home, and then introducing them to the other kids in our home. Those are all really important things to help a youth and a little child feel welcome, and that they're part of our house, and that we will walk with them through their journey. With the new act that is now law, that is respecting First Nations, Métis, Inuit children and families, we know that children are going to go home. And it may not be to family, it may be to community. And as an Indigenous woman, I celebrate that. So many years we have watched Indigenous children fall between cracks, languishing in care. So we do celebrate that. Foster parents have to be open to that. Foster parents have to understand the history of this country, of Turtle Island, and what has happened, and the intergenerational trauma. And that is our responsibility as foster parents, to understand that history and to seek out learning that history so that we can understand why it is celebrated that our children are going home with their families. Indigenous children have the inherent right to be on their territory, to be with their family, to be on the land, to eat their traditional foods, to learn their language. And it's so important for them to have a sense of identity and a sense of belonging. We had one young man with us that was from one of the nations on Saanich Peninsula, and we had an opportunity to go to a friend's farm that was up around the Malahat, and that was his ancestral grounds. And when we got there, I asked him to remove his shoes, and I removed my shoes, and to watch that transformation, I had tears in my eyes, and I know he had tears in his eyes. And we walked, and he shared stories with me about his ancestors that had walked that same land. And it was a privilege to walk beside him on that journey. I think that is a beautiful way for foster parents to start doing relief and respite. It gives us a good idea and a good understanding of who the children are, where they come from, maybe what are some of the traumas. And it gives us an opportunity to be able to learn different techniques that we maybe haven't used for a long time, or they're newly learned techniques on being able to help a child settle into a home for a short time, gets to know the child. I believe that doing relief and respite care is a really nice entry into foster parenting. When you're a foster parent, you will suffer from grief and loss. When children come into your home, they come into your heart. We love them, we nurture them, we guide them, just like we would do with our own children. And when children move on, either going back to their family or going to another home, we're going to feel that grief and loss. And we need to honor that. We need to validate that those feelings and emotions are real. And it's really good to reach out to a foster parent association, other foster parents, and be able to talk about those feelings. And if need be, to reach out for professional grief and loss support. It's very real. And we all go through that at some point in our journey as a foster parent.